Good afternoon. Welcome to the East Hampton Library. Today we have with us conducting author talk, we have Meri Wallace, who will be discussing her book, The Secret World of Children. Um, in The Secret World of Children, Meri Wallace LCSW reveals that 9 hidden developmental issues cause your child's challenging behavior from infancy to adolescence. Your child's need for love, unquenchable curiosity, aggression, desire for independence, urgent wishes, impulsivity, limited concept of time, pursuit of pleasure, and fears and anxieties. Uh, the book guides you to learn effective tools to respond to these issues that'll help you raise your children to feel loved. And a little bit about Meri. Meri Wallace is a licensed clinical social worker, parenting expert, and child and family therapist with over 30 years of experience. She writes a blog for the magazine Psychology Today and is the author of Birth Order Blues and Keys to Parenting Your 4-Year-Old. And without further ado, the East Hampton Library is proud to present Meri Wallace.
Hello, I'm so pleased that you came today to my workshop. Hampton Library for having me come and talk to you. Very excited to speak to you about. And since you're here, I would like to tell you a little bit about myself because it's always good to know who's talking to you. So, as was mentioned, I am a child and family therapist and a parenting expert for over 30 years. I write a blog for Psychology Today, and I appear regularly on television and on the radio and on podcasts. And I've also written 2 other books that I'd like to just briefly give you a show and tell about. This book is called Keys to Parenting Your 4-Year-Old, and it explains 4-year-old development and how to communicate positively with young children. My other book was a lot of fun and exciting, called Birth Order Blues, and it talks about each child's experience in their position in the family, what it's like to be a firstborn, a middle child, a youngest, a twin, or an only child. And it's written for parents because each child has challenges in their spot. They have positive things and they have challenges. And it explains to parents how to raise their children to feel equally loved and self-confident. I wrote The Secret World of Children because of my deep love for children and my wish to explain to parents why their children behave the way they do, how to respond positively, and most importantly, how to raise your child to feel loved. I will tell you more and more about how to do this as we go along. In my work with parents, I found that one of the hardest things for them was to understand what their children's behavior was all about. It often was confusing, frightening, and even maddening. And so I wanted to explain to them what it's all about. Why? Why does a child hit, kick, and bite? Why does a child steal candy from the grocery store? And as I explain to parents, they feel better. So when parents see this behavior, they're often very frightened. Is my child bad? Is my child crazy? Is my child going to be on a therapist's couch forever? And before you know it, parents get so upset that they're yelling or worse, only to feel mournful about their choice of behavior a few moments later. So um, I found that in working with parents, that the best way to help them was to explain their children's behavior in relation to natural development. This is the key to understanding your child. So in my book, I talk about 9 issues that I identified as the most important developmental issues that cause your children's behavior. The need for love, curiosity, anger, the feeling of urgency about your wishes, the need for independence, impulsivity, living in the moment, pleasure, the need for pleasure, and fears and anxiety. In my book, each chapter focuses on one of these developmental issues. And it explains in the book that these issues begin in infancy and they go all the way to adolescence. So they're omnipresent, and learning how to deal with them is the key. For example, let's take a look at curiosity. We can see curiosity in babies right from the beginning. The tiny little infant lies in a crib staring at a ray of light that is passing through the window for more than 10 minutes. Curiosity is a wonderful part of children. This is how they get the drive to explore. They love everything about their life. And this goes on. An 11-month-old will crawl over to a potted plant and keep grabbing fistfuls of dirt, even though you say no, because it's curious. What is this all about? And what's fascinating is it goes all the way through adolescence. Your teen, who is newly independent, will be fascinated. Maybe I should walk out onto that lake. It's frozen, but let's see if it'll hold me. Or maybe I'll try some alcohol. So these developmental issues start off with a tiny baby and go on through life. Let's talk a little bit about the need for love. Well, we know the need for love is the most important need that children have. They're tiny and fragile. They need to turn to you for food, for comfort, for safety. And as they grow, they're very focused on, am I getting enough love? And so it is actually the core of sibling rivalry. When you are pouring apple juice into the glasses of your children, you have all the eyes staring at you, watching to see if you give an extra drop of apple juice to a sister or brother, because it'll mean that you're loved less. So the issue of sibling rivalry emanates from the need for love. Also, if a child feels I'm not getting enough love, then they may throw something at you, or they may engage in negative attention-seeking behavior. And I have an adorable story that I always tell about negative attention-seeking behavior. I was a consultant to a nursery school, and I was called into a room. They were having a lot of trouble. Sarah was rolling around the rug every time they had a meeting, whether they were talking about the weather or reading a book. She just wouldn't stay in her spot. And the teacher was pulling her hair out and angry. You know, why aren't you listening to me? And soon, Sarah became the bad girl in the class. Things only became manageable when we found out by my speaking to the mom that she had been traveling and wasn't around very much. So Sarah was feeling very sad and needy for love. And so she acted it out in the classroom by rolling around the rug. And once we knew that, once we could connect the behavior to the developmental issue that she was going through, we were able to make a change. The teacher started having Sarah sit on her lap. And she also spoke to her. She said, I think you want attention. I think you're doing that. And when you need attention, raise your hand and I'll come over to you and I'll help you. So the point of all these developmental issues is that if you can tie behaviors to the developmental issue, then you can make a change. I'm going to tell you about how I use it in my work, and that it's been very successful in helping parents. Not too long ago, some parents came in frantic. Their 3-year-old son, Max, kicked mom when she was feeding the new baby. We don't hit him. Why is he acting like that? And is he bad? Is he crazy? And once again, back to the therapist couch. Everybody, that's what we always imagine is going to happen to our child. We're going to end up putting our child in therapy for life because of our behavior. So I started to talk to them and I started to explain to them that babies naturally are born with anger inside. When a baby wakes up and he's hungry, he's going to start screaming and thrashing his arms and legs and kicking. He shows his feelings with physical means. Now, kicking Max is not so far from being an infant, and he is showing his feelings in a physical way. It takes children a very, very long time to be able to express themselves in a more positive way. And not only does it take time, but it takes our guidance. So I said to these parents, you know, there are things you can do to help move your child along developmentally and get to the place where he expresses himself positively. So here are some things you can do. You can acknowledge your child's emotions. You can say, I think you're feeling angry. Maybe you feel that you're not getting enough attention, or that it's hard to share mommy with the new baby. It's very important to help children label their emotions, because once they know what's going on inside, which they don't, they really don't know what's all this tumult inside. Once we help them to label what's going on inside, then they can start to work with it. Not to say that they immediately know what to do. They don't. Then the next thing that is very important to do with children is to use positive limit setting. And you'll see that all the way through my book. And what is positive limit setting? It's saying, this is what you need to do in this situation. So if you're angry, this is what you need to do. And telling your child it's okay to be angry is very important. So in this positive limit setting, we're going to go, it's okay to be angry. We want children to feel that in life, you don't have to repress your anger. I mean, we all know that as adults, that it's hard to deal with anger and we often don't know what to do. But if we, as parents, we give children the acknowledgement and the right to feel anger, then we're helping them through life. The next very important thing is to say, it's okay to feel angry, but you need to use words. Now, we've heard this phrase over and over again. Nursery school teachers use it. Parents use it. Use your words. The only thing they're missing from that, and it's right, that is right. We want children to use words because if they use words, then they're not going to use physical demonstration of their anger. They're not going to hit, kick, and bite. They're going to express themselves with words. But they don't know what to say. Children don't have the words. So we need to teach them the words to use. And that's something very big that I do in my practice. I think giving children the words to communicate with you, and I give parents the words to use to communicate with their children. It helps to build a communication, and children will, over time, will internalize the words. Not right away, but so in this case, you can say, I can see you're angry. Say, I'm angry. Or say, I feel left out. Or say, I need attention. And I will help you. And if we start when the child is very young, over time, the child will internalize it. So as I'm talking to these parents and I'm explaining, your child is normal. You're just seeing a child and in his normal development. Your child is not crazy, your child's not bad, and your child just needs to develop. He needs to develop language, and he also needs to develop impulse control. That's a hard one. It's like stopping a runaway train. You know, children react very quickly. They're very impulsive. And to get them to stop is very hard. So as you can hear, there's a lot of patience required here with children, and also time. So let me think of what else I want to say. Oh, so these parents walked out of my office feeling empowered. There were things they could do in this situation, because lots of times we just stand there and we're dumbfounded and we just don't know what to say. And we don't want to hurt our children. We, more than anything in the world, we want to raise our children to feel loved, to feel good about themselves. They ended up leaving my office with a smile. This is after one meeting with them. So I find that this approach of explaining normal development, the child is being a child, and this is what's going on, and here's what you can do, really helps parents. And then the child's behavior begins to change. I worked with a mom whose child was out of control wherever she went. It was a nightmare for her. She couldn't go to the bakery. She couldn't go to the library. This kid would kick everybody and hit everybody. And in working with her, it took us about 4 months with her support and not getting angry at him, but teaching him in this way. He turned around and she's doing, was doing fine in a new school. So that's what I want to describe about how I do the work. I want to show you something that I put together just because it's my image of what I'm talking about. Okay. And you may scratch your heads and you may say, oh my God, it's a good thing she's not an art teacher. I put this together and I have gold around it because your child is a gem, in my opinion. Every child is a gem. And every child has different facets to this gem. And these are the developmental issues that I mentioned to you: curiosity, anger, your anxiety. And the whole thing is your child, and your child has all of this in him. So my book deals with each part, and the goal is to help you convey to your child, I love every part of you. Every part of you is good, and we just need to learn how to work with it. So this is the moment where I'm going to ask for questions, and if there's any behaviors that you have a question about or developmental things, I'd love to answer them. We have a microphone for the questioners. Any behaviors that were hard for you with your children or your grandchildren, or you see others trying to deal with? Sarcasm. Sarcasm in a preteen. Thank you very much for your contribution. That's a very good question. Well, a preteen, that is a stage of development where children are trying to separate and become independent. And sometimes they do it through anger. They push you away, and that makes me feel more separate. And it's hard to deal with. Sometimes kids will say, I hate you, you're ugly, you can't cook, and if you keep in mind the framework of the developmental issue, that this child is trying to separate from you and, wants to act like he's better, he's different. So what do you do, right? So what do? You can say, why don't you try to tell me that again, but say it in a nicer way. That kind of thing, that kind of way of speaking hurts someone's feelings. And I can listen to you better if you just express it in a regular way. Any comments? Any questions? You're welcome. What? Tell me about it. Those are two very good points. If you're really, really close, then they push harder. They have to, in order to say, well, I'm going out in the world on my own. I better have some distance here. But also the fear that there's sexuality involved, with the hormones, and, this is too dangerous. Yes, a lot of these things that I'm talking about. Nomi, did you have something? What? Oh, I thought you were responding to her. Um, so you said, tell me about adulthood because I think you're right. Okay, if a child feels you're constantly criticizing them, well, there's always a piece of us that has to be self-reflective. We have to listen to ourselves, develop an ear uh, uh, where we can hear how we're coming across. Um, and it's good to take your child seriously, because if he's saying, I feel, and you can tell him to say that, oh, you feel criticized, and then say, when, how, and get some insight into the moments he experiences that. And, there's always room to say, well, maybe you have a point, or uh, I didn't mean it in a critical way, but if it came across that way, I'm sorry. You have other thoughts about that? Right? That's what you're doing. Good. Well, we love them so much and we want things to go well for them and we want their lives to be good. So anything we see that's you know could help them potentially, we feel we want to give it to them, but they're not, sometimes they're not asking, and uh, they don't appreciate it because of this need to feel independent. And I'm smart enough, I'm a good enough parent. I don't need to, you don't have to tell me what to do. Very rough. Could you pass the mic?
One of the things my adult is cannot make suggestions. But I have found that it has changed. It's changed. And another thing that I had learned at work when my kids may have still been at home, that everybody hears, we had a program where we training, everybody hears somebody telling you what you did wrong. Well, often do not say what you did right in a concrete way. Like you say that's ever. And I tried that at home.
What did you try exactly?
To, instead of negative comment or something that I thought a kid should do, to try to concentrate on the positive, but do it in a concrete way. Like that really helped me out, when you cleared the table. It was good because I was tired. And other staff at work were doing the same thing. With a very concrete way to do it.
And it was praise. I think, there's been a lot of debate about should you praise a child? Well, I think you should. I think that's how you encourage a child to behave in a nice way, and you show appreciation for the child. So it's very important.
Yeah, and it reinforces the positive. Very happy, all of us, because we would do it with our students. But then we got the bright idea to try it with the family. Try it with your husband.
Well, you know what? We're all children, really. Inside we all are still children.
Well, we all want positivity.
Yeah, you want to be praised. You
Yes.
do. That's good when they tell you, because then you can observe the situation and try to see where the child is coming from. You know, sometimes it has to do with a child having, let's see, about to go to college, and the family focuses in on that child, and the other children, often feel they're not getting enough attention. But it's such a big deal for the family. So if a child comes to you and says, you don't talk to me, you don't spend any time with me, you're always talking about college. I don't want to hear about college anymore. So sometimes it's reality based, that you are in fact focusing too much on another child. Sometimes there's something going on with the child. Maybe the child is having trouble at school and doesn't have enough friends and is projecting it onto you. But it's a big issue. Children want to feel equally loved. So can you give me an example and I'll work with that? It happens a lot. I'm working with a family of twins, and one of the twins is much more verbal and much more demanding and gets much more attention, and the other one sort of is in the shadows. It happens a lot, and it's tough. It is tough because sometimes kids get the attention by negativity. They may act out negatively, and you have to constantly be aware of what's going on with that child and what to do about that child. What should we do? Or they're not doing well in school. What should we do about that child? So it's important to tell the child who's saying it to you that I don't feel I'm getting enough attention. I'm sorry if that's what you're feeling, because we love you equally. We have enough love for our children when we love you all equally. But let me know when that happens. And I'm going to try to watch myself. And you can also explain, yeah, such and such is going on with your sister or brother, and he really is keeping our attention. And we're going to try harder, for that not to happen to you. But just really encourage that child to use words to let you know when it's happening, because you don't want that to happen. It's a real problem in every family that one child grabs attention. Like a child who won't go to sleep at night. That's a big one. There are children who stay up on purpose just to make sure that they're getting extra. And the house is upside down. Everyone's upset because this child will not go to sleep, and it's all focused on this child. So, and then, sometimes you can have a family meeting about it. I think family meetings are great. Say, and try to find out how, like, if you did it every week, say, how is everybody feeling this week? Is anything hard for anybody? And what can we do to help this child? So we work together as a family to make sure everybody is well taken care of. Is there anything else about that? Because it is a tough issue. Okay, does anybody else have any other behavior, maybe from nursery school. Do you remember dealing with the children in nursery school, things that were hard? No, 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 when you were a teacher. Oh, not nursery.
But we just did shop with children. It was an art workshop. Some of the kids are much more, have their ideas, they quieter. Try to encourage, not encourage, but be positive to all. Shy child who did not want to talk when everybody went around and talked, but she worked on her project and wish you could help her transfer that to not feeling as shy and because I was surprised to see what she did. But the girl, very shy child.
Well, I think in this case, I would think of saying to her, you have so many great ideas. I love your ideas. Just build up the positive side of this child and try to, if the parents would look around their home and see what's going on that could be causing this. Are we paying too much attention to the other kids? Are we not tuning into her? When we're having dinner, let's make sure she gets a chance to talk about her day. Because often the older child might monopolize the conversation and have so much to say, but the younger one, gets talked over, doesn't have a chance. So you're going to try to attack that whole issue from lots of angles. Am I giving enough affection to this child? Do I help this child to feel a positive self-esteem? And just make sure you're spending time. When children spend time alone with you, they open up. Make sure that at night, you're speaking to her about her day and how was it. Get her to start talking, and feel acceptance and love.
Yes. This was just such.
Yeah.
Us could do was talk to her about what she was doing and how wonderful.
And that was a gift to her, by the way, because maybe nobody else is doing that. Maybe nobody else is saying, oh, look at you. You have such great ideas. Maybe she doesn't know that. You already did something right with her. Okay, so do we have anything more or should we just call it a night? Anybody have anything else?
In the house. Hardly at all. So I took that as a sign that I was already in it, which was very positive for
You took
me,
it as a sign what?
that I was an adult already as a child, that I was an adult already, and that I could go about and do all the things I wanted to do, and it'd be okay. And because they're so great, whatever it is I was doing. So, so I found that very encouraging. And my mother was the one that was in charge of everything, but she was so busy that it just reinforced how adult I was. So
That's interesting.
stuff.
Did you? Yeah. I kind of noticed that. Okay, we're going to finish. Thank you so much for coming and being my audience. And it was very enjoyable. And thank you for participating.